How's it going, everyone? I'm Will from Nifty Method, and today we have Levi talking about why your company needs a good logo. So, without further ado, I'll let Levi do his own introduction.
Hey, everybody. My name is Levi Bilbrey. I am the COO and head of creative for Nifty Method and our service group newly launched called the Marketing Orchard. And so a little bit about Marketing Orchard as we kind of get going here. Marketing Orchard is a very, very simple, very direct, down to earth, collaborative solution for all creative and content needs for your business. We pride ourselves in working with startups, small businesses, medium size, all the way to enterprise, and we've got vast and deep experience in all those areas. So my role over here on Nifty Method and Marketing Orchard both is to guide the creative teams and the processes. With the intent of delivering the best visual content to our customers, because we really do want to see their businesses grow and thrive. And we have a passion in creating an accessible resource, right? Because we know a lot of people don't have in-house creative teams. We don't necessarily have the budget to go to some big, name brand agency type of thing. And a lot just simply don't know what it is that they need, right? They don't know what goes into that. So that's what we're here to provide is a resource that is very just easy to understand, easy to use, and easy to collaborate with.
Awesome. With small agencies, right? A lot of people worry about like what kind of experience you bring to the table. So why don't you give us a little bit of background on what you've kind of done in the past?
Yeah, it's a lot. So and I'm not ever really one for brevity, but we'll do our best here. So the my background is various. I mean, I've got a lot of experience in-house corporate creative. I've been creative my entire career. My undergrad was in fine arts and graphic design and marketing. Later went back and got an executive MBA focused on customer experience, business development, and kind of those processes. Just based on a lot of the work I had done, in kind of mid-career, decided to go back and kind of hone some skills there. So my background, though, I've been working with Nifty Methods since its inception in 2018, and a lot of the branding and look and feel was my contribution in the beginning. And I officially joined the company last year in 2020 as COO and head of creative. So with my background, though, leading up to now, I've got over 20 years experience working in everything from a few different Fortune 500 in-house creative teams for those brands. I've spent various amounts of time in different agency creative roles, art director, creative director, graphic designer, photographer, webmaster. My goal has always been just passionate about learning and about challenging myself creatively. And if anyone ever had said, hey, do we have anybody on the team that can do this? I was always the first to shoot my hand up, whether I knew how to or not, because I knew it was a great opportunity to expand and learn, because ultimately I knew with my career, I wanted to be able to help other brands grow and thrive. So all of that collective experience has really allowed me to kind of come into this role and really, really enjoy myself and the clients we work with, because most of my background is in design, but as well as I've done some product design, promotional photography, working with business development teams, business strategy teams, and that type of thing. So a lot of various and well-rounded experience, but I feel like that really puts me in a really personally fun place, but also hopefully a helpful place for our clients, because we've got a lot of deep experience. And a lot of the teams the same way. We've built the team purposefully to have different types of backgrounds and different types of experiences, because we bring holistically a lot of different types of viewpoints into how to best help our customers wrap their heads around their creative needs. Because we don't ever want to assume, like, you wouldn't go to a plumber or an electrician and tell them how to do their job, right? You would hire them because they're the experts in what they do. You don't want me doing plumbing on your house, right? So I'm gonna want to work with an experienced plumber. Well, this is what we do. Branding, content development, creative strategy. So we want to be a good resource for folks to come in and level up their creative and marketing offerings, especially if they don't know what all goes into that. Let us take the pain out of that, and we want to come and be a resource for them.
Definitely. With all that experience, like let's cut right to the core question. Why does a company need a good logo?
Well, gosh, again, the answer there is so broad because a logo means a lot of different things to a lot of people. When you talk about branding, people just think like, oh, that's my logo, and I don't like to think about branding solutions or the visual aspects of a company as only the logo, right? You're so much more than your logo. I prefer to think of brands holistically. The purpose of a brand at its core is to create a lasting relationship and to resonate with your audience and your customer. It sounds a little flighty, it sounds a little kind of high level, lofty, artsy or whatever, but at its core, it's less about the logo and more about who are you as a brand. So if you think about a brand, it's your name, it is your mark, your logo, that's included, but it's also your products, it's your employees, it's your overall experience. What do you bring to your customer, to the marketplace? What do you contribute to your community, to the world? And what comes into that sort of holistic experience and holistic brand approach is identifying your core customers, right? Who do you want them to be? Who do you want to provide service for? We look at Marketing Orchard and we know who we want to provide service for. We want to be the accessible group for startups, small businesses, the restaurant down the street, anybody who's like, hey, we really need some good creative. We really want to grow our audience. We want to grow our offerings, but that's not what we do. So, but it's also, again, like I said earlier, it seems expensive. It seems so far out of reach sometimes to find people who do that professionally and be able to afford it at the same time. So, and there's a lot of services out there that do this, but we're coming at it from a little bit of a different perspective, which we'll get into, I think later in our talk. But, when you think about your brand, I always encourage people to think about, okay, who is your existing customer, or maybe who's your ideal customer? Who's your audience? What do you want them to think? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to do once they know who you are or they know what you offer? When they see your name or they see your logo or your mark, your visual presence somewhere, what do you want them to do with that, right? Because if you can't communicate who you are and what you want them to do, you're just going to get lost in a sea of same things out there. You got to stand out, and that's what we do as our profession, is finding ways to help people think authentically about their brand and to be able to communicate that effectively to the world. So if you think about your brand as a living thing, right? Because it is. It can grow, it can evolve, it can adapt, it can change. Most importantly, it can interact on your behalf. So your brand, your logo, your name, your mark is one of your strongest salespeople, right? So think of it as a part of the team. And as part of the team, it can also educate the rest of your workforce. Everybody from whether it's the person waiting tables, to the person servicing the vehicle, to the person helping your customers in the store, all the way up to enterprise level, interacting on a multi-conglomerate merger and acquisition. Like, knowing how to speak about the brand and knowing how it can sell on your behalf is critical, right? So if you think about it like it was a person, how would your brand introduce itself? How would it describe what you do? What are your products? What are your services? How would your brand talk about those things? Give it a persona, put it into words. And then what would others say about your brand? If they just met your brand at a party for the first time, what would they say about it? Would they feel like it's approachable? Is it fun? Is it serious? Who do you want your brand to be as a person? These are all the things that we take into consideration when we work with our customers on their brands. It's not just give me some flashy thing that doesn't resonate. It's not just give me some eye candy that doesn't feel like us, right? Because you started your business for a reason. It was something you're passionate about. It's a service you wanted to provide. You saw a need, in the community or in the market somewhere. You're like, I want to do that thing. Or you work for a company because you're passionate about what they do, what they offer. I hate to think that it's just a paycheck for everybody, because there's so many options out there of what you could do. I hope for you that you're doing something that that you love and that you resonate with. And that's who we love to work with, are those people who they have a mission, they have a passion. And we want to come alongside and be a part of that mission and that passion, and help them communicate that to the world. So there's a lot that goes into that. But I mean, ultimately, the point of a logo is to help you communicate your message to the world, to set yourself apart from your competition. That's a big part of the process, is when you come and work with us, whether it's a logo or a full social media content package or a video. There's tons of these services that we offer, both at the Marketing Orchard and at Nifty Method on the strategic side, that we take all those things into consideration, and we look at your competition. We do a full sort of look around and say, okay, who do these people compete with? Is it the other store down the street, or is it somebody that's got a multinational brand and you're trying to cut in and get some of that business? We take all of that in consideration, because you don't just want to go out there and say, hey, I want to look like them, right? You're going to get mixed in. You're not going to gain any of their business. You need to come out and say, why am I better than, right? Or how do I differentiate myself from them? Because and again, we're talking about logos today. So that piece of it is so important, because it's more than a symbol or a letter. It's, what does that stand for? It's got to inspire something in your potential customer. They got to see that and go, ooh, that feels like something I want to wear or want to buy, or something I can associate with, right? And everybody's got different preferences for that. So it's back to the importance of knowing your core audience and who you want that to be. Some fun statistics, because I want to share some stats, because those are always nice things to go to. I think a lot of people know by now that visuals are so much more impactful, right? They're much more quickly recognized. Your brain can process, I think this is a nuanced media statistic from a few years back, your brain can process something like 60,000 times faster than words, which I don't even know how they compute something like that. But that's amazing, right? So when you think about visual processing, and the retention rates is insane too, because you retain something like 80% more visual information than you do written or spoken information. Everybody's different. Obviously creatives like those that I work with, we prefer visuals. It's just what we live and breathe and eat that stuff for breakfast. And it's a lot of fun. But you do have a lot of data nerds out there. They're like, give me numbers, give me words, and they retain that stuff too. So that's why it's important to know who you're working with, who you're working for, because you want to be able to communicate with them effectively. And consistency is absolutely right up there with, being visually recognizable and standing out and differentiated. Be consistent in your brand. Be authentic, right? Authenticity is key. There was a Stackla research statistic out there that said 86% of customers say that authenticity is key. If they don't feel like you're authentic, if you're somebody they can trust, they can do business with, they're not going to give you their money. They're not going to give you their time. They're not going to invest in your brand with whichever way you need them to be affiliated with you. You've got to be true to your brand. You've got to be true to your customers. Sometimes those things, I would even invert that. Be true to your customers, and that's who your brand is. But you've also got to figure out, back to the how do you find and exploit your differentiators, right? Look at your competition, look at where you started, where you're coming from, what your core is, and then brand trust, right? Authenticity and trust kind of go hand in hand. 81%, this is an Edelman research statistic, 81% will buy from a brand based on trust alone. Right? That trust can come from lots of different places. It can be because my friend recommended it to me. They had a good experience. They trust it. I trust Will, and I want to know where he bought that T-shirt. So I could go get one. Right? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I love this brand. It fits me like I want it to. It's got the, personality that I want to get from it. So I trust Will. I trust his opinion. I want to know about that. And maybe I'll become a customer as well, and I'll develop that trust. And then I'll tell my friends about this brand that I love, right? And we all do that. I mean, everybody's got that. From you've got to go see Joe down at the tire shop. I always use him because he's a good dude. He's honest. He doesn't price gouge me. He's just a really, really good at whatever he does. And I'm going to tell my friends, and they're going to tell their friends, and Joe's business grows because Joe's being true to his brand, right? What we want to do is help Joe grow more, right? So what are his goals? What does he really want to do? And how do we get his brand beyond word of mouth, right? So there's lots of things there. The other thing too I wanted to share is, it's been shown with, there's a bunch of research out there, but like Lucid Press, Beneath the Brand, other types of blogs that we follow, revenue and value also increase. I don't want to get too, businessy corporate jargon here, but I mean, revenue and value increase, right? So, 33% and 20% percent respectively. So it's been shown that revenue can increase up to and beyond even 33% with brand consistency. If you are on social media and you're just posting things at random, or like, this inspires me today and tomorrow I like that, but it doesn't look and feel like you're going to lose people. They're going to feel like you're all over the place, and you've got to bring them back to the core of what it is you stand for and what you want your brand to embody and what you want to be about and be associated with. So be consistent, be authentic, be true, be trustworthy, right? And all of that comes back to knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and really finding ways to communicate that to the world. And that's where we love to help people who, whether they know that or they don't know that stuff, that journey to find that out it's moving. It's very inspirational. So lots of info there. We will be sharing this video on social later. So if anybody wants to unpack that, of course, you can always reach out to us. But yeah, that's kind of my view on just logos and why they're important and what really goes into that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like we were talking about last time with small businesses and startups, like there's not a lot of budget to spread around, and people sometimes cut corners and they need to snip other things out of the budget. But what I want to ask you is, why should people invest more in their logo?
Yeah, and investment again is another term that it could be viewed a bunch of different ways, right? So, I mean, if you're only what you show to the world, isn't that worth investing in? Like, I don't know what Will paid for his shirt, but it's making a statement, right? He might have invested a lot into the shirt. Maybe it wasn't money. Maybe he invested time, right? So think about investment in, are you just going to go and, I've got some comparisons we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but there's lots of resources out there. You can go just get some clip art off the internet that's going to be hard to protect, and anybody else could also be using it. You could, do this a lot of different ways, but your customers, your core, people that are going to want to do business with you, they make snap judgments based on what you offer them, right? Whether that's on the appearance of your store, the approachability of your associates, all of that stuff comes back to not just the logo, but the brand. And investing time, like you invest time to train your people, right? You invest time and money to do those things. You invest time in what your storefront looks like. You invest money in what your storefront looks like. You invest time, money, sweat, blood, tears in your product, right? The brand is, in some cases, the most important, not more important than your product or how you made it or what it offers, but most important in how your product can be represented or your service can be represented to the world. Don't skimp on that. And I don't mean just money, because the reason we started Marketing Orchard is because we wanted to make this type of thing accessible. We realized that those budgets don't always exist. We realized that those, the expertise in-house, at your place might not exist. You might not have branding folks. You might not have creative. You don't have anybody who can do art. And you don't necessarily want to use, your cousin's best friend's, school roommate, because who knows? I don't know them. I don't know if they could do a good job, but yeah, I'll go for it. And because that's the only option I have, that's what I'm going to put on my sign. I don't know, right? It feels like a roll of the dice, and I'm not knocking that at all. There's some talented people out there, and you get lucky sometimes, but I don't feel like you should always rely on luck. I feel like it's, like I said earlier about the plumber, the electrician, like I'm not going to try to do that stuff myself. I don't want to burn my house down or flood it, either one, and neither does my wife. So let's make sure we find, reliable investments there. Again, whether it's time, it's money, it's expertise, but you want to find a partner that works for you. If that's us, awesome. If it's not us, we'll go give you some resources to look at. Like, we're not greedy that way. It's like, hey, this works or it doesn't work. There's a ton of things out there that can really, really help you, but don't just make it guesswork. Don't just, roll the dice and just Google something and just pick it at random, because those things don't take the time to understand all that stuff I was talking about earlier. They don't take the time to understand who you are as a business. They don't take the time to understand who your customer is. You know, if you want some AI bot to randomly guess at what you stand for, hey, I mean, maybe you'll get lucky. But I'd rather not rely on luck. I'd rather work with a human who does this for a living, and, you know, they'll make it affordable, hopefully, right? If you got the right service you can invest in. If you got the budget, man, go for it. If you don't have the budget, but you want to make sure you do that, there's other resources like ours out there, you know, because you don't want somebody making a step judgment based on a poor design, right? I'd love to go to Joe's tire shop, but he doesn't even have a name on his building. Like, how do I even know which one it is? You know, how do I find them? You know, 20 years ago, you could say like, oh, I'm in the phone book. Well, that's not how people find you today, right? Invest time in money and resources into your brand on your website, right? If you don't have one, you got to get there. You know, the only place we find things today is when people tell us about them or on the internet. It's so hard to find, you know, quality services any other way. Low quality logos, low quality brands tend to get passed over for that thing that might be a little bit more attractive or a little bit more approachable or a little bit more authentic or trustworthy looking, right? So putting the time and value into that is super, super important. A weird statistic that that we found is one of the most expensive logo designs ever was, I don't even know that this number is right. I can't even believe this number is right. But Symantec, a brand and acquisition firm, they spent $1.2 billion on a brand design. Now that's a company investing in the brand. Now, for whatever reason, they felt like it needed to be that. I'm sure it wasn't just the logo, folks. That's probably how it's advertised. I'm sure it was a full brand package for a lot that they're doing. But right there, it shows that investing in your brand is important. And I'm sure they got results from that. God, I hope they did if they spent that much money. But you don't have to, what's the joke with Marketing Orchard I always use? But like, you don't have to feel like you bet the farm, right? You don't have to feel like you've, you know, given everything you've got or a budget you didn't have. There are resources out there. There's a way to invest in this and partner with people who this is their passion. This is our passion. This is what we love to do. Wouldn't you rather work with somebody who just loves what they do? It pours out of them. You know, Joe at the tire shop, man, he loves working on engines. He loves on, Joe's made up, by the way. He doesn't exist. He probably does exist in somebody's world, but you know, I want to work with people who love what they do, because that's who I want to spend. That's who I want to invest my time, my hard-earned money, but people who love what they do, because if they love what they do, they're likely doing it better and they're putting more time and effort into it. And I'm getting a lot more value out of that. And we just make it fun.
Yeah, you were talking about before, like we were talking about cutting corners and like how, yes, you can get a cheap logo somewhere, and that comes up with companies like Fiverr. And while there's a lot of great talent on there, what does Marketing Orchard offer that someone on Fiverr maybe couldn't?
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like, you know, Fiverr's great. Honestly, I'm not going to knock it because it has grown into such an amazing resource. But it requires a ton of time and effort on your part as the customer to go through and look and find something that might work or whatever. So what we really want to differentiate ourselves with, you know, because we can't give this advice out and not take it ourselves. So we want to look at ourselves and say, who are we? What do we want to offer as Marketing Orchard and as Nifty Method? What do we want to put out there in the world that resonates with our customers, with who we want to do business with, right? So that's super important. So we want to offer packages that we curate, right? We're industry professionals. We've been in this game, you know, like I said, up to and over 20 years for a lot of us, and others who are coming in with fresh ideas, right? I love to bring in people who are straight out of design school or have been doing it for a few years. They have a different perspective. They have great ideas. They're not, you know, kind of bogged down by years of corporate or years of agency, you know, churn. And they're just excited about design, and that's nice too, because that inspires the rest of the team too. So we've got a varying amount of experiences, but it's all curated, right? We pay very close attention to who we bring in and work with, who we hire on the team to make this stuff, because we want our customers to be able to partner with somebody who is all of those things I mentioned earlier, right? It's the things that, you know, that kind of embody trust and authenticity and stuff, and our staff is like that. You know, we want somebody who you can feel like you're working with a human, right, on these things, and somebody who gets you and pays attention. Again, Fiverr, my gosh, there are some super, super, super talented freelancers out there. How do you find them, right? You got to go on, you got to search for different things, you got to dig in, you got to, know what keywords you're looking for, or at least what you want to, try to get out of it. You could type in logo design. You're going to get about 50,000 results of people who are willing to do your logo for $50, $500, $5,000. You'll find it. No worries. It'll probably be amazing. But you've got to dig, and you've got to find somebody who has maybe the aesthetic that you're looking for, or has kind of the design style that you're looking for. What if you don't know? What if all you know is, I'm Joe's tire shop and I need a logo and I need to market my business? I don't know what style I need. I don't really have that's not my thing, right? I work on cars. I love working on, it's my passion. I want to make amazing vehicles and provide amazing service for people. What do I know about a brand? I don't even know what to ask these freelancers. I don't even know what to search for. I didn't even know Fiverr was a thing. Like, there's all kinds of reasons where, again, it's not a bad service. It's an amazing service, but that's where you're investing a ton of time and you don't know what you're going to get. Wouldn't it be nice if it was a little bit more of a guided process, right? And I'm sure I'm, probably going to get hit up on social later about like, hey, you totally didn't say the right things about how Fiverr works. I've used it, guys. Like I used it early days too. I was always looking for ways to expand my creative team, but I had to invest a bunch of time to get things that worked. But if you don't know what you're looking for, I knew what I was looking for. I'm a creative guy. I was like, I want this. I just don't have time to make this myself. So I knew when I saw it, I knew it. I worked with them. It was awesome. But what if you don't know? Wouldn't it be nice to be guided through a process that helps you think through all of those things that go into the brand, the stuff we've been talking about? Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody on the other end who listens to you, who asks you those questions and kind of leads you through that creative brief process that, talks about your brand and your content potential and who you're going to be talking to and who you want your customer to be and where you're located? I mean, geography matters, right? Like, there's a different way you want to maybe talk to different types of audiences based on where you're at. You might find a freelancer, you might get lucky who can do that. That's great. We make sure we've got people who can do that for you, to save you some time. So another thing that sets us apart from services like Fiverr, and I could list them all. I'm not going to give them free advertising, but they're amazing. We're all human. I know that sounds kind of silly to have to say that, but like, we're real people. That's why we do things like live. We believe human connection and human collaboration is key to understanding and developing your brand, and a brand that your customers can relate to and trust, right? There's a lot of free and super cheap services out there. We try to be competitive, but we are definitely not free. We're definitely not the cheapest. But a lot of these are AI driven. And don't get me wrong, I am a super, super tech nerd. I love where things are going with like AI and a lot of other technologies like that, like machine learning. It can be scary to some, but like, there's a lot of really, really great potential and stuff like that. Coming up with your brand, I don't know that that's the best thing. Is it fast? Is it free sometimes? Yeah. If you're just looking for a quick hit that you, again, roll the dice and hope it's going to work. Like, oh, a robot came up with my logo. Sounds really cool. But I don't know, right? You've got to trust an algorithmic approach that you don't know anything about, right? So how do I know that this, AI approach is listening to my needs and determining what can help my company grow? If I don't even know what to put in, to me, that sounds like a lot of like, I got to put a bunch of stuff in, or I just got to throw in some keywords and it's going to spit out a logo and I like the way it looks. But does it have all that other stuff behind it that we talked about? Does it have the market research? No. Does it have the in-depth understanding of a target audience? Did it sit there and talk with you and ask you questions to understand who you're trying to do business with? No, right? I'm sure there's some out there. Those won't be free. But, and it's all guided by a human at some point. Somebody made this thing, but a lot of them are just looking for that quick hit. They want to get something made. They want to give you something for free. They want to maybe free and then sell you on other stuff. Again, nothing wrong with any of this except for it doesn't meet those markers we looked at earlier. It doesn't give you that background, that authenticity, that research, that trust. It's just pulling clip art and a cool font, throwing some colors in there and hoping you like it. You can tweak, you can do some cool stuff, but it's not necessarily, what I would put my value in to put on my sign on my store or, wear on my shirt, right? I love graphics on my shirts. I love things that look cool, and I want to represent that brand to the world. I want to make sure that there was some thought put into it, so wouldn't it be nice to have something that's created just for you, not generated by an AI bot out there that also, by the way, could be generating for anybody else. It doesn't offer you advice. It doesn't offer you ways to protect your brand, and it's not customized for you, right? Somebody else might be able to get that. Also, we don't do contests, right? And again, I love a creative contest. I think it's fun. I've participated in them as a creative. I've hired based on them. I've gotten designs from them. I think they're cool. We don't do that because, again, the point here is to bring value to our customers. It's to help you save time, save money, save some effort. Because again, and I've done this, and I'll walk you through an example. There's lots of good sites, like I said earlier, with lots of talented folks. You can put in your details. You can say, hey, this is who I am. Maybe I know a lot about my brand. Maybe they got a good sort of form I can fill out that asks me some of those leading questions. I give you all my info. I tell you everything I know, why I started my company, why it's the service I offer is important, all this stuff. Great info. They put it out there, broadcast it to their entire, open source type of, freelancers, big creative pool, which is awesome because you get a ton of ideas. And this happened. I did this one time. We were under a tight deadline. My creative staff was just completely booked up. And this is when I was in-house at a corporation. And we're like, we need some logos. We need them fast. It was for an internal brand. It was something we were trying to kick off. We said, hey, why don't we just do one of these like creative logo contest things? It was awesome. Like a day or two later, we got like 50 designs back. Nobody could agree. There were just too many options to choose from. And we had like this decision paralysis, and some people, half the team loved, these 5 and the other half loved these 20. And I'm like, we're getting nowhere. And there was no crossover. There was no consensus. So we didn't have a way to say what's the one, even if it's one we want to tweak. Like there was no consensus. So best case in that scenario, what if you like so many, but you can't get to one? Worst case is, what if they all just suck? Like what if there's not a good one in the pack? You got to start over. Well, if you're trying to get something done quickly, so maybe this isn't your big master brand on your storefront. Maybe this is just like a t-shirt design you want done. But if you're like, hey, we need to get some new product out, we need to get some new designs out, we need to get some social created. What if you hate it all? And what if you got to redo the whole process? Like a lot of them have great guarantees. If you don't love it, you don't pay. But what if time is of the essence, right? Wouldn't it be great to be able to talk to this pool of freelancers or this one creative to get a sense of urgency, to get a sense of like accuracy to this thing? So what they bring you is, pretty damn close the first time. And I think that's really, really important. So again, speaking from experience, like fast options and tons of options based on a contest might work for you. Again, I'm not knocking it. It's just not what we do, because I feel that it's going to be harder for you to find what you need to make a decision, to get consensus, and to be able to get something that feels authentic to your business. Right. So Marketing Orchard, it's our intent and it's our ultimate goal. We follow your creative direction and your ideas to the letter. If you have creative ideas, awesome. We'll take those, we'll mold them into a professional design or professional content. If you don't have ideas, we're going to work with you. We're going to ask you questions. It's through chat, it's through email. If we need to do phone calls, like there's things that we can do. And a lot of this is beta, guys. This is a new thing. We're putting this out there. We're testing a lot of market. This is where you get to jump on and get some, early bird special type of stuff, because, build this with us, because that's where we also believe knowing our customers, working directly with our customers is such a valuable thing. So much so that we want people to come in and start taking advantage of this, because we want to figure out what works, what doesn't work. Every service is different. Every product is different. We want to be able to say that this was a larger involvement and a bigger community thing, because again, the passion is there, the expertise is there, the customers are there, but what we want to do is have everybody sync up and work together to make some really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, we were touching on throughout the conversation about what we can offer as opposed to like Fiverr and stuff like that. But when it comes down to like strategy and like all the ideas behind the logo, right? Why we chose this color, why we wanted this symbol, all that stuff. how do we work that into your logo as opposed to someone that maybe was like, oh, you want a circle logo? Okay, here it is with your initials in it.
Yeah. So again, a lot of that comes down to having what we call creative briefs. So to break down the term, but it's basically just a way of asking kind of those initial leading questions. It's like what I was saying earlier about if your brand could speak for itself, if your logo could speak for itself, what would it say about it, right? What is your business? What is your customer base? What is your ideal customer? Whether you're just starting or you've been in business for a while or you're trying to like kind of level up, what is your intent? What are your goals, right? What are your beliefs, hopes, dreams, right? What are you trying to do? Know what you need. Awesome. We'll be able to give you, more ideas quicker because you've already come in with something to start with. That's great. But we don't need that. If you don't know what you need, to me, that's even sometimes more fun is like we can brainstorm together, right? That's where the collaborative nature comes in. And our team is experts in the branding side where they know what these designs mean, right? They know what types of colors elicit certain feelings. And again, that sounds a little kind of flighty, artsy talk, but it's not. These things matter, right? Blue has a different effect than red on people. And, green, is sometimes associated with something different than obviously yellow, right? There's, and everybody has a visceral reaction to colors, right? You may, and I've done this, right? You give somebody their logo in yellow and they didn't know they hated yellow until they saw it in their logo. And they're like, I don't, that's good feedback. That's stuff, again, you can't get from an AI bot. You can't, if you get to work with a freelancer, great. In this way though, we come in and we ask these questions in a way that is built to get some of those answers from the start. So when we talk about process, it could be fast, it could be as slow as you want it to be, but it's a matter of, you're paying for a product. We want to get you that product that you deserve because it's going to represent, again, whether it's your sort of master brand, big logo on the sign, your t-shirt, your social media content, your promo video, whatever that is. And there's a ton of those services we offer. We're adding more throughout the year. So, please stay in touch, marketingorchard.com. We're going to put all this stuff in the links there, but there's a lot we offer there, but the process is the same. The questions we ask are geared towards whatever it is you're wanting to have us create, but the process is the same. And that process is as simple as we ask you questions in order to get some of the answers so we can create the best product available for you, right? When you go get something custom made, it's the same process. Like I want to go get a custom made, handbag or custom made shoes. I don't know if people still do that. I'm sure they do. But whatever, right? If I wanted to get a shirt like Will's and I can't find it anymore, I might be like, hey, I take a picture of this shirt and be like, hey, I don't know where he got this shirt, but I love this pattern on this fabric. It says the statement I want to say. It's going to get me the attention I want to get, which I'm sure is why Will wears it to the bar or whatever he does. And I want to do the things, right? So here's my idea. Help me make it a reality. Help me build this, thing the way I want it to get the attention I want. If you love it, awesome. You get all the files you need. You get all the guidance to go along with it. If you want to tweak it, no problem, right? We're committed to making this the best it can be for you, right? So whether it's like I said, we're talking about logos today, but we do so much more than that. We want to tweak it based on what it is you've signed up for, what it is you're purchasing, right? Because we understand that this is not something anybody expects anybody to be able to do if this is not what their career is, and I can't stress that enough. I don't want somebody working on my car who has no business working on cars. I rely on that thing. You rely on your brand the same way. It represents you to the world. You don't want somebody working on it who has never done this before, right? And again, it'd be different if I was coming in here trying to sell you some, $50,000 or $100,000, deal. This isn't, guys. This is affordable. This is collaborative. This is absolutely, you're able to touch it, feel it, experience it with us. We're super passionate about that. I hate these sort of passive things like buy a thing, get it in the mail the next day. And I'm like, I didn't like this. Right. So let's think about that together and how to do those things. And that's why those, that approach is so important, that it becomes, get to that thing that is relevant to what you're asking it to be. right? So our process, our questions guide you down that path. We take the work out of it for you. We don't make you come with a whole bunch of like pre-thought out stuff. You pick the thing you need. We walk you through that process of like, okay, cool. We want to make that thing for you. Absolutely what you need it to be. Here's the things we need you to answer. If we have more questions, we reach out. If not, we get to work right away. We turn stuff around super quick, and then we start our collaborative process if it's needed, right? So there's, again, lots to unpack. I could talk for hours on creative process. I don't want to do that here, but there's a lot that goes into it, and every product's different because every business is different, right? Every need is different. I'm not going to take something that I made for a technology company and then the next week find a way to kind of tweak it to work for a shoe shop. Like it doesn't necessarily work that way, and we don't want to do that. It's back to that authenticity and authenticity. Wow, that's a hard word to say. Authenticity and trust there at the core, because the authenticity piece, you want to be authentic to your customers. Well, you're our customer. We want to be authentic to you. We want to make something that is going to help grow your business. And that's what we're about here is, cultivating better creative. We want to help grow that business here at the Marketing Orchard.
Definitely. Well, that's all we had for today. Thank you, Levi, for coming on and chatting with me for a little bit. Again, everyone, thank you for watching. We have a Logo Pro package on the Marketing Orchard website, so make sure to go check that out if you're interested in talking to us, or drop us an email. We'd love to chat. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. And if that info is not on there, email, easy way to get us at the Marketing Orchard is hello@marketingorchard.com. We also have hello@niftymethod.com. You guys can find me on social. The good news is I'm the only Levi Bilbrey in the world, as far as I can tell from Google.
The one and only.
So just look me up, reach out. I'd love to collaborate, obviously talk creative. Would be super fun for me, but please like us, follow us, look us up at the Marketing Orchard, and we'd love to work with you someday. So thanks for your time, Will, and it was fun chatting with you guys.